help. Please.
Ma'am, can you hear me?
I can't. My chest.
Miss. Step back. You're gonna miss your flight.
I don't care about the flight. Call 911 now.
Lena Townsend, single mom, $22 in her bank account.
We fund Gordy, a Buntwan party. You missed your plane.
Why? Because if that was my mama on this floor, I'd pray someone would stop too.
But what Lena didn't know was who this woman really was. And what she was about to do for Lena would change everything. But to understand why Lena was running through that airport in the first place, and why missing that flight would break more than just her schedule, you have to go back 3 days. Tuesday morning, Atlanta, Georgia, 5:14 a.m. Lena's alarm went off in a one-bedroom apartment south of downtown. Mismatched furniture, a single framed photo of Zoe's first birthday on the wall, crayon drawings taped to the fridge with dollar store magnets. The place was small and tired, but it was clean. Always clean. That was the one thing Lena could control. She sat up in the dark. Her body ached before her feet even hit the floor. 31 years old, 2 jobs, 1 daughter, 0 savings. By 5:45, she was dressed in scrubs and standing over the kitchen counter, packing Zoe's lunch. Turkey sandwich, apple slices, a napkin with a smiley face drawn in marker, because Zoe once told her it made the food taste better. Zoe was 5. Big brown eyes, a laugh that could fix almost anything. Almost. Lena worked the 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. shift as a certified nursing assistant at a senior care facility on the east side. She bathed residents, changed sheets, spooned oatmeal into mouths that couldn't open all the way. She lifted people twice her size out of wheelchairs, and never once complained. Then at 2:15, she picked up Zoe from aftercare. Then at 4:45, she dropped Zoe at her neighbor Brenda Holloway's apartment. Then at 5, she clocked in at a grocery store 3 blocks away and stocked shelves until 9 p.m. every Monday, every Wednesday, every Friday. By the time she got home, Zoe was usually asleep on Brenda's couch. Lena would carry her back, tuck her in, and sit at the kitchen table for exactly 10 minutes. Not to eat, not to scroll her phone, just to breathe. That Tuesday night, Lena was helping Zoe with a coloring page at the kitchen table. Crayons everywhere. Zoe was telling a long, winding story about a cat she saw outside the school. Lena smiled, nodded, asked questions, and then her head dipped forward, just for a second. She woke up 20 minutes later, cheek pressed against the table, crayon marks on her forearm. The apartment was quiet. Zoe had pulled a blanket off the couch and draped it over her mother's shoulders. She was sitting in the next chair, still coloring, quiet, patient, like this had happened before, because it had. "Mama, you fell asleep again." Lena sat up, rubbed her face. "I'm sorry, baby. I'm so sorry." Zoe didn't look up from her drawing. "It's okay, Mama. You were tired." 5 years old, and already learning to take care of the person who was supposed to take care of her. That's the part that broke Lena the most. Not the bills, not the exhaustion. The look on her daughter's face when she said it's okay, like she meant it, like she'd already accepted that this was just how life worked. Wednesday night, 9:38 p.m. Lena had just gotten home from the grocery store when her phone rang. It was her mother, Diane Townsend, Charlotte, North Carolina. Diane had hip replacement surgery 2 weeks earlier. She was 61 and stubborn, told Lena not to come, told her she'd be fine on her own, told her the neighbor checks in every morning. But that night, Diane's voice was different. "I fell, Lena." Lena's hand tightened around the phone. "What happened? Are you okay?" "I was getting out of the bathtub. My foot slipped. I caught myself on the towel rack, but..." A long pause. "Nothing's broken. I'm fine." She wasn't fine. Lena could hear it. The shakiness. The way her mother's breath hitched between sentences. The silence where pride used to be. Diane didn't say, "Come help me." She didn't have to. After the call, Lena sat on her bed and opened her banking app. Checking account, $211.34. She searched for flights to Charlotte. The cheapest one-way, $189. Friday evening, flight 1124, departing 6:45 p.m., the last direct flight of the day. She stared at the number. If she bought this ticket, she couldn't make rent. If she didn't buy it, her mother was alone and scared in a house she couldn't move through safely. $211, minus $189. $22 left, 6 days before rent was due. Lena bought the ticket. She closed the app, set the phone face down on the bed, and pressed both hands against her eyes. She whispered to herself, quiet, like a prayer. "It's fine. I'll figure it out. I always figure it out." Friday morning, the day of the flight. Lena was packing a small duffel bag when Zoe appeared in the bedroom doorway. Bare feet, pajamas, holding her stuffed rabbit by one ear. "Mama, are you coming back?" Lena dropped the bag. She crossed the room, knelt down, held her daughter's face in both hands. "Always. 2 days, baby. That's it. I promise." Zoe handed her a folded piece of paper. A drawing, stick figures under a rainbow. One tall, one small, one even smaller with long rabbit ears. Lena tucked it into the side pocket of her duffel. She zipped it up, kissed Zoe's forehead, and then she walked out the door, toward an airport, a missed flight, and a stranger on a cold tile floor who would change her life forever. But that part? She didn't know yet. Lena made it to Hartsfield-Jackson with 40 minutes to spare. 40 minutes. That should have been more than enough. But the universe had other plans. She took the MARTA train to the airport because her car broke down 2 months ago and she couldn't afford the repair. The mechanic quoted her $1,100. She laughed. Not because it was funny, because $1,100 might as well have been 11 million. So she rode the train, backpack on her lap, duffel between her knees, Zoe's rainbow drawing tucked safely in the side pocket. She walked into the terminal at 5:55 p.m., Flight 1124 to Charlotte. Departure, 6:45, Gate B 26. Plenty of time. Until there wasn't. The TSA checkpoint had 3 lanes open when Lena joined the line. By the time she reached the halfway point, 1 lane shut down. Staffing issue. No explanation. Just a rope pulled across and a guard waving people to the other 2 lines. The lines swelled. Families with strollers. Business travelers with roller bags. A group of college kids arguing about whose ID was in whose backpack. Lena stood on her toes and counted heads. At least 40 people ahead of her. She checked her phone. 6:08. Come on. 6:14. She shuffled forward 3 feet. 6:19. A man in front of her set off the metal detector. Belt, watch, coins. He went through 4 times. 6:25. Lena placed her bag on the belt, shoes off, arms up, clear. She grabbed her things and looked at the clock on the wall. 6:31. 14 minutes. Gate B26 was a 12-minute walk on a good day. She'd never made it in less than 10. Lena ran. The terminal stretched in front of her like a hallway that wouldn't end. Fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. CNN blaring from every screen. The smell of fast food and floor cleaner. A janitor's wet floor sign blocking the shortcut near Gate B14. She had to loop around. She dodged a family of 5 moving in a slow, wide wall. Sidestepped a man pulling 2 suitcases. Nearly collided with a woman pushing a wheelchair. "Sorry, excuse me, sorry." Her duffel bounced against her hip with every stride. Her lungs burned. Her cheap sneakers squeaked on the tile like they were begging her to stop. 6:36. The overhead speakers crackled. Final boarding call for Crestline Airways. Flight 1124 to Charlotte. All remaining passengers, please proceed immediately to Gate B26. Lena's chest tightened. She ran faster. 6:38. She could see the gate signs now. B22, B24. Almost there. 6:39. She rounded the last corner and stopped. Not because she was too late. The gate door was still open. Donna Pratt, the gate agent, was standing at the podium with one hand on the mic. Lena stopped because of what she saw on the floor. 5 feet from the gate entrance, an elderly woman, white, late 70s, silver hair pinned neatly, was slumped against the wall. Her navy cardigan was bunched around her shoulders. Her handbag was open on the floor, its contents spilled across the tile. A leather wallet, reading glasses, a monogrammed handkerchief, the initials EW stitched in silver thread, and a small amber pill bottle, rolled about 2 feet away. The label caught the fluorescent light, not a regular pharmacy label. Something different. A medical concierge logo, private. But Lena wasn't looking at the label. She was looking at the woman's hands. They were shaking, not a small tremor. Her whole body was trembling, chin, shoulders, fingers. Her face was pale, almost gray. Her lips were moving, but no sound came out. One hand pressed flat against her chest. A man in a suit walked past, glanced down, kept going. A young woman with earbuds stepped over the spilled handbag without breaking stride. A businessman on his phone nearly kicked the pill bottle. He didn't even look. Lena stood there, 15 feet from the gate, boarding pass in her fist. She could see Donna Pratt reaching for the mic, about to close the door. She looked at the gate, open. Right there, 10 seconds away. She looked at the woman on the floor, alone, shaking. She looked at the gate one more time. And then she dropped her duffel bag. She dropped to her knees beside the woman. The tile was cold through her jeans. She didn't care. She took the woman's hand, papery skin, ice cold, trembling, and held it. "Ma'am? Ma'am, can you hear me?" Behind her, the gate door clicked shut. And just like that, in the time it takes to kneel down, every dollar Lena Townsend had scraped together disappeared. Every shift she'd traded, every meal she'd skipped, the $189 she couldn't afford. Gone. All because she couldn't walk past a stranger on a cold floor. But what she didn't know, what nobody in that terminal knew, was that this decision, this single moment on her knees, was about to open a door that no boarding pass ever could. What happened in the next 8 minutes wouldn't show up on any boarding pass or flight manifest, but it would end up being the most important trip Lena Townsend ever took, and she never left the terminal. Lena reached for the pill bottle. Her hands were steady, even if nothing else in her life was. She turned the label toward the light. Nitroglycerin, sublingual tablets, 0.4 milligrams, prescribed to E. Whitfield. She knew this medication. She'd administered it dozens of times at the care facility. Residents with angina, chest pain, cardiac episodes, 1 tablet under the tongue. Wait 5 minutes. Call emergency services. She unscrewed the cap, tipped 1 small white tablet into her palm. "Ma'am, my name is Lena. I'm going to help you, okay? Can you open your mouth for me?" The woman's eyes found Lena's face. Blue, frightened, glassy. But she focused, just enough, and nodded. Lena placed the tablet under her tongue. Gentle, careful. The way she'd done it 100 times for people she was paid to care for, but nobody was paying her now. Good. Now don't try to talk. Just breathe. Slow. In through your nose. She pulled out her phone. Dialed 911. Her voice was calm, almost clinical. Hartsfield-Jackson, Terminal B, Gate B26, elderly woman experiencing a cardiac episode, conscious but in distress. She's taken 1 sublingual nitroglycerin from her own prescription. I need medical response. Dispatcher confirmed. 4 to 5 minutes. Lena flagged down an airport employee near the next gate. Radio the medical team, Gate B26, now. She turned back to the woman. The trembling was softening. Color hadn't returned yet, but the shaking had eased from a storm to a tremor. The nitroglycerin was working. "You're doing great, ma'am. Help is coming. I'm right here." The woman's hand reached out and found Lena's wrist. She gripped it, tight. Not the grip of someone saying thank you, the grip of someone saying, please don't leave. Lena sat down on the cold tile. Not kneeling anymore. Sitting. like she had nowhere else to be. She unwound the scarf from her own neck and draped it around the woman's shoulders. Behind them, Donna Pratt, the gate agent, was watching from the podium. She picked up the desk phone and spoke quietly into it. A short call. Less than 30 seconds. Then she hung up. 4 minutes later, 2 EMTs arrived with a wheelchair. They checked vitals, blood pressure stabilizing, heart rate coming down. The male EMT looked at Lena. "Did you give her the nitro?" "1 tablet, sublingual, about 4 minutes ago. Her own prescription." He nodded. "That was quick thinking. You in healthcare?" "CNA. 3 years." "Well, you did exactly the right thing. Another few minutes without that tablet?" He didn't finish. He didn't need to. The EMTs helped the woman into the wheelchair. She looked small in it. Her hands still trembled slightly on the armrests. Her cardigan had a tiny embroidered crest on the breast pocket. So small you'd miss it unless you were close. Lena was close. But she was looking at the woman's face, not her clothes. The woman turned and looked directly at Lena, her voice, thin but steady. "You missed your plane." Lena glanced at the empty gate. The screen read, "Flight 1124, departed." "Yeah, I did." "Why did you stop?" Lena rubbed the back of her neck, a habit she didn't know she had, the gesture of someone carrying weight alone. "Because if that was my mama on this floor, I'd pray someone would stop too." The EMTs wheeled the woman toward the medical suite. Lena watched them go. She picked up her duffel. She should leave. The flight was gone. The money was gone. But she looked at the wheelchair moving down the corridor. An old woman, alone, no family beside her. Lena put the bag over her shoulder and walked after them. She didn't announce it, didn't explain, just fell into step beside the wheelchair like she'd been there all along. The woman looked up, surprised, then not surprised, then something else, something that looked like recognition, not of a face, of a feeling, of what it's like when someone stays. In the medical suite, the fluorescent lights hummed a different kind of quiet, not the chaos of the terminal, not the rush of the gate, just a small, clean room with 2 chairs, a cot, and a blood pressure monitor beeping softly in the corner. Eleanor Whitfield sat upright. Color was returning to her cheeks, slowly, like dawn creeping across a gray sky. Her hands had stopped trembling. She sipped water from a paper cup, both hands wrapped around it like it was something warm. Lena sat in a plastic chair 2 feet away. She wasn't watching Eleanor. She was staring at her phone. She'd typed the message 3 times, deleted it twice, finally hit send. "Mom, I missed my flight. I'm so sorry. I'll figure something out. I love you." She stared at the screen. The little blue check mark appeared. Read. No reply. Lena set the phone face down on her knee and pressed her fingers against her eyes. She didn't cry. She wanted to, but she didn't. Eleanor watched her, quiet, careful, the way someone watches when they understand more than what's being said. "You were going to see your mother?" It wasn't a question. Lena looked up. "Yeah, she had surgery a couple weeks ago. Hip replacement. She fell the other night and she's alone out there." "In Charlotte?" "Yeah." Eleanor nodded slowly. She set down the paper cup, reached into her handbag, the one Lena had carefully repacked on the terminal floor, and pulled out a leather wallet. She opened it, slid out 5 crisp $100 bills, and held them toward Lena. "Please, take this for another ticket and for your trouble." $500. Lena stared at the money. $500 would buy a new flight, would cover the groceries she'd been stretching, would put gas in a car she didn't even have anymore. $500 would fix a lot of things. She shook her head. "Ma'am, I can't take that." "Young lady, you missed your flight because of me. I missed my flight because the TSA line was a nightmare and I can't run in these shoes." Lena smiled. Small, tired, real. "You didn't do anything wrong. I'm not going to take your money for doing what anybody should have done." Eleanor studied her. Not offended. Not surprised. something else. Like she was seeing something she hadn't seen in a very long time. She put the money away. Then she reached back into her handbag and pulled out a small card. Not a regular business card. This one was heavier, cream-colored. The lettering wasn't printed, it was engraved, pressed into the paper like it had been stamped with weight behind it. "Then at least take this," Eleanor said. "If you ever need anything at all, you call that number." Lena took it. She glanced at it for half a second, just long enough to see a name and a phone number. She didn't read the rest, slipped it into her jacket pocket the way you'd pocket a receipt. "Thank you, ma'am." She stood up, zipped her duffel, pulled the strap over her shoulder. "You sure you're okay? Is someone coming for you?" Eleanor folded her hands in her lap. "Someone is always coming for me, dear." Lena nodded. She didn't catch the weight of that sentence, not yet. "I hope you feel better. Take care of yourself, okay?" She turned and walked out of the medical suite. The door closed softly behind her. Eleanor sat still for a long moment. She looked at the thin cotton scarf still draped around her shoulders. Lena's scarf. She touched it, ran her thumb across the fabric. Then she folded it, slowly, deliberately, and placed it on her lap. Her expression changed, soft, focused, like a decision being made behind her eyes. And out in the terminal, Lena Townsend walked toward the main hall, alone. She stopped at the departures board. Flight 1124 to Charlotte, departed. She sat down on a metal bench, pulled out her phone, searched for Greyhound tickets to Charlotte. The cheapest option, $62. Arriving 4:15 a.m. She booked it. Her checking account balance dropped below zero. She sat there for a minute. Then she reached into her jacket pocket and pulled out the business card. Turned it over absently. On the back, in handwritten ink, 5 words. "Kindness is never wasted." Lena half smiled, tucked it back in her pocket, stood up, grabbed her bag, and walked toward the bus station. Lena Townsend boarded a Greyhound at 10:45 that night and rode through the rain to Charlotte. She didn't think about the old woman again. But the old woman? She hadn't stopped thinking about Lena. On the bus, Lena pressed her forehead against the window. The glass was cold. Raindrops raced each other down the outside in crooked lines. The seat smelled like old fabric and someone else's fast food. She called Brenda. "How's Zoe?" "Asleep on the couch with that rabbit." "She's fine, Lena. Stop worrying." "I always worry." "I know you do. That's your whole personality." Lena laughed, quiet, short, the kind of laugh that's mostly just exhaling. She hung up and closed her eyes. The bus pulled into Charlotte at 4:12 a.m. 3 minutes early. The station was nearly empty, one overhead light flickering. A janitor pushing a mop across wet concrete. Lena called a cab. $14 she didn't have. She watched the meter tick like a countdown on someone else's money. Her mother opened the front door in a bathrobe, leaning on a walker. The hallway light spilled across her face, tired, relieved, trying not to cry. They held each other in the doorway. No words, none needed. But 300 miles south in Atlanta, a very different scene was unfolding. In the airport medical suite, 15 minutes after Lena walked out, a man stepped through the door, mid-50s, dark suit, crisp white shirt, no tie, an earpiece curled behind his left ear. Philip Graves. He didn't rush. He didn't panic. He moved the way people move when emergencies are part of the job description. "Mrs. Whitfield, are you ready?" Eleanor looked up from the folded scarf in her lap. "Not yet. I need you to find out who that young woman was." Philip didn't ask why. He nodded once. He escorted Eleanor out of the medical suite, but not toward the main terminal. They turned down a corridor marked "Authorized Personnel Only," through a service door, down a hallway with no advertisements, no gate numbers, no crowds, just gray walls and quiet footsteps. Outside, on the tarmac-level access road, a black town car was waiting. The driver stepped out and opened the rear door with a practiced bow. No airline logo on the car, no signage, just tinted windows and silence. Philip held the door. Eleanor climbed in slowly. He closed it behind her, walked around to the front seat, and pulled out his phone. Yes. Gate B26, Flight 1124. Her name is Lena Townsend. Booked in seat 34C. I need a full background by morning. In the back seat, Eleanor held Lena's scarf against her chest. She looked out the window at the runway lights blurring in the rain. A private car? A personal aide? A background check on a stranger who gave up everything for someone she didn't know? Who exactly had Lena Townsend helped on that airport floor? 3 days later, Lena was back in Atlanta. Back to her double shifts. Back to scraping by. She'd almost forgotten about the old woman at the airport. And then her phone rang. But first, the weekend. Lena spent Saturday and Sunday at her mother's house in Charlotte, doing what she always did. The things nobody posts about. The things nobody sees. She scrubbed the bathtub where Diane fell and put down a non-slip mat she bought at the dollar store. She organized Diane's medications into a weekly pill organizer, morning, afternoon, evening, bedtime, and taped the schedule to the refrigerator in large print. She cooked 5 days' worth of meals in plastic containers with masking tape labels. Chicken soup, Monday, rice and beans, Tuesday. She called Diane's insurance company, spent 40 minutes on hold, and arranged a visiting nurse to come 3 times a week. She didn't sit down once. Sunday night, she took the Greyhound back to Atlanta, another overnight bus, another rain-streaked window. She got home at 5:40 a.m. Monday, took a shower, put on her scrubs, kissed Zoe's forehead while she was still sleeping, walked to work. Monday morning at the care facility. Room by room, resident by resident. She bathed Mrs. Greenfield in room 4, adjusted the bed rails for Mr. Cooper in room 11, spooned oatmeal into the same mouths she spooned oatmeal into every single day. Her phone buzzed in her locker. She didn't check it. It buzzed again at 10 and again at 11:15. Lunch break, 12:30 p.m. Lena sat in the break room, a small table, a microwave, a vending machine with a cracked screen. She pulled out her phone. 2 missed calls. Unknown number. 1 voicemail. She almost didn't play it. Unknown numbers were usually spam. Car warranty scams. Student loan robocalls. She almost deleted it. Almost. She pressed play and held the phone to her ear. Good morning, Ms. Townsend. My name is Terrence Adams, and I'm the Vice President of Community Affairs at Crestline Aviation Holdings. I'm calling on behalf of our Chairwoman Emerita, Mrs. Eleanor Whitfield. Mrs. Whitfield would very much like to meet with you at your earliest convenience. Please return this call at your leisure. Thank you. Lena pulled the phone away from her ear, looked at the screen, looked at it again. Crestline Aviation Holdings. She knew that name. Crestline Airways, the airline. Her airline. The one she was supposed to fly on Friday night. Flight 1124. Her hand went to her jacket pocket, the one hanging on the hook behind the break room door. She reached in and pulled out the business card. The one she'd glanced at for half a second in the medical suite and pocketed like a receipt. She read it. Properly this time. Every word. Eleanor Whitfield, founder and chairwoman Emerita Crestline Aviation Holdings. Below the name, a phone number. And a small logo at the bottom of the card. A pair of wings with the letter C between them. The same logo printed on the boarding pass she'd crumpled in her fist 3 days ago. Lena sat very still. The old woman on the floor, the shaking hands, the pill bottle, the thin voice saying you missed your plane. That woman founded the airline, not a passenger, not a retired flight attendant, not someone's grandmother on her way to visit family. The founder, the chairwoman, the person who built the entire company from the ground up. Lena set the card on the break room table and stared at it. The narrator needs to explain something here, because this wasn't some small regional airline. This was Crestline Aviation Holdings. Eleanor Whitfield and her late husband Gerald started Crestline Airways in 1981. 2 propeller planes, 1 hangar in Savannah, Georgia. Gerald flew the routes himself for the first 3 years. Eleanor handled the books, the hiring, the scheduling, everything that didn't require a pilot's license. By 1994, they had 32 aircraft. By 2005, they were the 9th largest carrier in the country. By 2012, when Eleanor stepped down as CEO, Crestline operated over 600 planes, 40,000 employees, hubs in Atlanta, Charlotte, Dallas, and Denver, the 4th largest airline in the United States. Gerald passed away in 2016. Heart attack, 68 years old. Eleanor kept her board seat but stepped away from daily operations. She was 71. Everyone expected her to disappear. She didn't. Instead, she started something she called listening flights. Once a month, sometimes twice, Eleanor would book a regular seat on a random Crestline flight. No first class, no priority boarding, no special treatment, coach, middle seat, if that's what was available. She wanted to see how passengers were treated when nobody knew the founder was sitting in row 34. Philip Graves would drive her to the airport, wait in the car on the tarmac level, and pick her up when she landed. That was the arrangement. Every time. For 8 years. That Friday night, Eleanor had been sitting in seat 34B, the seat right next to Lena's, 34C. If Lena had made that flight, they would have sat elbow to elbow for 90 minutes and never known it. Eleanor would have been just another old woman reading a magazine. Lena would have been just another tired passenger staring out the window. But Lena didn't make the flight, because Eleanor collapsed before boarding. And the only person in that entire terminal who stopped, who knelt down, who knew what nitroglycerin was, who refused to walk away, was the woman in the seat right next to hers. Lena was standing in the break room of a nursing facility, holding a business card that weighed nothing and meant everything. Her hands were steady. Her mind was not. She thought about the $189 ticket, the Greyhound, the cold tile floor, the look in the old woman's eyes when she asked, "Why did you stop?" I helped the woman who owns the plane. She picked up her phone, dialed the number from the voicemail. It rang twice. "Miss Townsend?" Terrence Adams. Warm voice, unhurried, like he'd been expecting her call all morning. "Thank you for getting back to me. Yes, of course. I wasn't sure if..." She paused, took a breath. "What is this about exactly?" "Mrs. Whitfield would like to meet with you, in person, at your convenience. Would Wednesday afternoon work?" Lena looked at the clock on the break room wall. Her shift ended at 2 p.m. on Wednesdays. "I can be available after 2. "Perfect. I'll send a car." Lena opened her mouth to say that's not necessary, but the line was already dead. She stood there for a long moment. Break room, fluorescent lights, vending machine humming, the business card still on the table. She picked it up, turned it over, read the back one more time. Kindness is never wasted. This time she didn't tuck it away. She held it. On Wednesday afternoon, a black sedan pulled up outside Lena's nursing facility. And for the first time in her life, someone opened the door for her. She almost didn't get in. She stood on the sidewalk in her best clothes, a navy blouse she usually saved for church, pressed black slacks, the same work shoes with scuff marks from the airport floor. She'd spent 20 minutes that morning deciding what to wear, changed twice. Almost called Brenda to ask for advice. Didn't. The driver stepped out, gray suit, professional smile. "Ms. Townsend?" "That's me." He opened the rear door. The leather seat was spotless. The car smelled like it had never been sat in before. Lena climbed in, set her purse on her lap, gripped the straps with both hands. The drive took 18 minutes, through downtown Atlanta, past the buildings she'd stocked shelves beneath, past the bus stop where she waited 3 nights a week in the dark, into Buckhead, where the buildings turned to glass and the sidewalks got wider and the people walked slower because they could afford to. The car pulled up to Crestline Aviation Holdings regional headquarters, a glass tower that caught the afternoon sun and threw it back at the sky. Lena stepped out, looked up. The building was taller than anything she'd ever walked into that wasn't a hospital. Inside, the lobby was enormous. Marble floors, high ceilings, a massive model airplane mounted on a pedestal near the reception desk, a replica of the first Crestline propeller plane from 1981. A brass plaque beneath it read, where it all began. Employees walked past in Crestline-branded lanyards, carrying tablets, holding coffee cups, talking about quarterly reports and route expansions. Nobody looked at Lena, not with hostility. They just didn't see her. She gripped her purse straps tighter. A man approached from the elevator bank. Mid-40s, black, clean-shaven, warm eyes behind wire-framed glasses. His handshake was firm but not forceful. "Ms. Townsend? Terrence Adams. It's a real pleasure." "Thank you. I'm not entirely sure why I'm here." Terrence smiled. "You will be." He walked her to the elevator. 14th floor. The doors opened to a hallway with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Atlanta spread out beneath them. Highways, neighborhoods, the skyline she'd only ever seen from the ground. They entered a conference room. Long table. 12 chairs. A glass of water already poured at one seat. A folder, thin, unmarked, beside it. And on the table, folded neatly, placed like it belonged in a museum case, Lena's scarf. The thin cotton scarf she'd draped over a stranger's shoulders on an airport floor 4 days ago. Lena stared at it. Her breath caught. Before she could speak, the door behind her opened. Eleanor Whitfield walked in. She looked different. Color in her cheeks. Her silver hair was down, resting on her shoulders. She wore a tailored cream jacket, pearl earrings, but her eyes were the same. Blue, steady, clear. The same eyes that had looked up from the airport floor and asked, "Why did you stop?" Eleanor crossed the room without hesitation. She took both of Lena's hands in hers, held them, looked at her face the way you look at someone you've been searching for. There she is. They sat down across from each other. Terrence took a chair at the far end of the table. Quiet, present but not intrusive. Eleanor spoke first. She told Lena what happened from her side, the cardiac episode. The terror of not being able to breathe, the faces that walked past, the shoes that stepped over her handbag, the sound of her own pill bottle rolling away from her across the tile. And then, a voice. "Ma'am? My name is Lena. I'm going to help you." "In 60 years of running an airline," Eleanor said, "I've watched hundreds of thousands of people move through airports. I've never, not once, seen anyone do what you did." Lena didn't know what to say, so she said the truth. "I just didn't want you to be alone." Eleanor nodded slowly. Then she asked about Lena's life. Not politely, not performatively. She asked the way someone asks when they actually want to know. And Lena told her. The 2 jobs, Zoe, the broken-down car, her mother's surgery, the $189 ticket, the Greyhound, the $22. She didn't perform sadness. She didn't exaggerate. She stated facts, plain, clear. The way someone speaks when they've carried something so long it doesn't feel heavy anymore. It just feels normal. Eleanor listened without interrupting. Not once. When Lena finished, Eleanor opened the folder on the table. Inside were 3 documents. She slid them across, one at a time. "I'd like to offer you 3 things, and I want you to hear all 3 before you respond." The first. Lifetime priority, boarding and first-class upgrades on any Crestline Airways flight, for Lena and her immediate family, anywhere Crestline flies, no expiration. You will never fly coach on my airline again. The second. A position in Crestline's newly created passenger wellness division, a team focused on training flight crews and gate agents in basic emergency medical response. Salary, $85,000 per year. Full benefits, tuition reimbursement. Eleanor leaned forward. "You knew exactly what to do with that nitroglycerin. That wasn't luck, Lena. That was training. I want that training in every terminal we operate." The third. The Townsend Whitfield Scholarship, an annual scholarship fund for single mothers pursuing healthcare certifications. 5 recipients in the first year. Full tuition coverage for CNA, phlebotomy, and EMT programs. "Your name goes first," Eleanor said, "because you were first." The room was quiet. Lena looked at the 3 documents, then at the scarf on the table, then at Eleanor. "Is this real?" "Every word." Lena pressed her lips together. Her chin trembled, once. She looked down at her hands. The same hands that had held a stranger's wrist on a cold floor. The same hands that had spooned oatmeal that morning. That had packed Zoe's lunch with a smiley-face napkin. "I didn't do it for this," she said. Her voice was barely above a whisper. I didn't want her to be alone." "I know," Eleanor said. "That's exactly why you deserve it." Lena reached across the table, her hand extended for a handshake. Eleanor looked at it. Then she stood up, walked around the table, and hugged her. At the far end of the room, Terrence Adams was pretending to look at his phone. His eyes were red. Within 6 months, Lena Townsend's life didn't just change, it became unrecognizable. And the ripple didn't stop with her. It reached people she'd never even met before. Lena stocking shelves at 8 p.m. under fluorescent lights, eyes half closed, price gun in one hand, energy drink in the other. Counting the hours until she could go home and collapse. After, Lena, standing at the front of a Crestline training room in the Atlanta hub. 12 gate agents sitting in rows, notebooks open. A projector behind her showing a slide. Recognizing passenger medical emergencies, Module 1. She's not reading from a script. She's telling them what she saw, what she did, what could have happened if she hadn't. The room is silent. Everyone is taking notes. Before, Zoe in a crowded aftercare room, sitting alone in the corner, drawing on the back of a worksheet because the good paper was already taken. Waiting for her mom, always waiting. After, Zoe at a new school, better teachers, smaller classes. She's sitting at the kitchen table in a 2-bedroom apartment with actual matching furniture, drawing with real colored pencils, the kind with 36 colors instead of 8. Lena walks through the front door at 5:30 p.m. Not 9, not 10, 5:30. "Mama, look what I drew!" Lena picks her up, holds her, smells her hair. They cook dinner together. Spaghetti, Zoe's favorite. Zoe stirs the sauce and gets it on her shirt and laughs so hard she snorts. This is what $85,000 a year and a single job looks like. Not luxury, just time, just presence, just being there. Before, Diane alone in Charlotte, struggling with her walker in a dark hallway at 2 a.m., afraid to call anyone because she didn't want to be a burden. After, Diane stepping off a Crestline jet bridge in Atlanta, first class, a flight attendant carrying her bag. Zoe sprinting down the terminal corridor screaming, "Grandma!" at a volume that turns every head in the gate area. 3 generations, together. Not because someone got lucky, because someone knelt down. The story didn't stay quiet. It couldn't. A local Atlanta news station picked it up first. A 2-minute segment during the evening broadcast. The anchor called it, "Airport Good Samaritan Gets the Surprise of a Lifetime." They showed a photo of Lena, the only professional headshot she'd ever taken, from her Crestline employee badge. The segment aired on a Tuesday. By Thursday, it had been shared 40,000 times. Then Crestline's social media team posted a short video, 90 seconds. Eleanor and Lena sitting together in the conference room. Eleanor telling the story in her own words, Lena sitting beside her trying not to cry. At the end of the video, Eleanor holds up Lena's scarf and says, "She gave me this. I'm never giving it back." 2.2 million views in 1 week. The comments section, for once in the history of the internet, was actually kind. "I'm not crying. You're crying. This is the kind of story the world needs right now." Lena Townsend is the definition of character. And then something happened that Lena never expected. Gate agent Donna Pratt, the woman at the podium at Gate B26 that night, did an interview with the same Atlanta station. She told them something the audience didn't know, something Lena didn't know. That night, after Lena knelt on the floor and the gate door closed, Donna had picked up the desk phone and called her supervisor. Not to report a medical emergency. The EMTs were already handling that. She called to report what she'd witnessed. A passenger who gave up her seat, her only seat, to help a stranger. That call went up the chain. Donna's supervisor mentioned it to the regional manager. The regional manager mentioned it to corporate, and corporate mentioned it to Philip Graves. Philip already had Lena's name, but Donna's call was the thread that confirmed everything. One phone call from a gate agent nobody noticed, connecting a stranger's kindness to the woman who built the airline. Donna Pratt was the invisible bridge, and she never expected a single thing in return. The Townsend Whitfield Scholarship launched in March. 5 recipients. Single mothers from Atlanta, Charlotte, and Savannah. Programs in CNA certification, phlebotomy, EMT basics. One recipient, a 24-year-old woman from Savannah with 2 kids and no high school diploma until she earned her GED at 22, sent Lena a handwritten letter. I'm the first person in my family to get a certification. Not a degree, I know. But it's mine. You didn't just help one woman in an airport, you helped all of us. Lena read that letter at her kitchen table. Zoe was asleep in the next room. The apartment was quiet. She read it 3 times. Then she folded it and put it in the side pocket of her duffel bag, right next to Zoe's rainbow drawing. Some things belong together. And Eleanor? She still flew coach, once a month. Listening flights, same routine, same middle seat. But now, when someone sat down next to her and made small talk, she told them a story. Lena's story. She carried the scarf in her handbag, every flight. She never washed it. Some things you don't wash, you just hold on to them. 1 year later, Lena Townsend was back at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. Gate B26, same terminal, same fluorescent lights, same tile floor, except nothing was the same. She was wearing a Crestline employee lanyard around her neck. Her shoes were new, no scuff marks. She'd been invited to the unveiling of a training module she helped develop. A laminated emergency response card, clear, simple, step-by-step, now placed inside every Crestline gate podium nationwide. Her name was printed at the bottom in small type, developed in partnership with Lena Townsend, Passenger Wellness Division. She stood at the podium at B26 and ran her fingers across the laminated card. 1 year ago, she'd been sprinting toward this gate with a crumpled boarding pass and $22 to her name. Now her name was built into the system. She shook hands with the regional team, took a photo with Donna Pratt, who had been promoted to shift supervisor 3 months earlier. They hugged like old friends, even though they'd only met once before, on the worst and best night of both their lives. The event ended. The crowd thinned. Lena was walking back through the terminal toward the exit when something caught her eye. A young woman, mid-20s, sitting on the floor near a charging station, knees pulled up, phone pressed against her ear, crying. Not loud, not dramatic. The quiet kind. The kind where you're trying to hold it together and your face won't cooperate. Lena slowed down. She could have kept walking. She had somewhere to be. Zoe was at home. Dinner needed to be made. She stopped. She walked over, knelt down. Same tile floor, same terminal, different year. Hey, are you okay? The woman looked up, startled, eyes red. Mascara smudged. I missed my connection. I have a job interview in Dallas tomorrow morning and the next flight is... I can't afford to rebook. I can't... She trailed off, shook her head. Sorry, I don't know why I'm telling you this. Because I asked. Lena sat down beside her, pulled out her phone, called Terrence Adams. The conversation lasted less than 2 minutes. Within 10 minutes, the woman was rebooked on the next Crestline flight to Dallas. Seat upgraded, no charge. The woman stared at Lena, mascara still wet, mouth open. Why would you do that? You don't even know me. Lena thought about it, really thought about it. She looked down the terminal corridor toward gate B26. She could almost see herself, 1 year ago, dropping her duffel bag and falling to her knees. She smiled. Because someone did it for me. She helped the woman to her feet, watched her walk toward the gate. Then Lena turned and headed for the exit. Through the window, a Crestline plane was pulling away from the jet bridge. The tail caught the last of the afternoon light, the wing and sea logo sharp against the sky. Lena touched the glass, just her fingertips, just for a second. Then she turned and walked toward her life. Lena Townsend missed one flight. She gained a life, and she made sure every single day after that nobody else had to sit on a cold airport floor alone. And that's where this story ends. Or maybe that's where it starts. Because here's the thing. Lena didn't kneel on that airport floor because she had the time. She didn't have time. She didn't kneel because she had the money to lose. She had no money to lose. She knelt because she saw someone shaking, and her body moved before her brain could talk her out of it. That's not strategy, that's character. So let me ask you something. When was the last time you stopped for someone, really stopped, when it cost you something? Drop it in the comments. I want to hear your story. And if this one made you feel something, hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. We'll see you in the next story.